Tonight, nothing needs to be found, not an answer, not a better thought, not even peace. The day has already carried you through many places, rooms filled with voices, doors opening and closing, messages appearing on a screen, small decisions, unfinished conversations, things that needed your attention. And perhaps, somewhere between one moment and the next, there was very little space to simply be still. But the day is quieter now. The light outside has changed. The sounds beyond this room have softened. And here, beneath the covers, there is nowhere else you need to be. You may still hear the day moving somewhere inside you. A conversation returning. A name. A small moment you wish had gone differently. Something waiting for tomorrow. Or perhaps there is only a quiet stream of thoughts passing without any clear beginning or end. They do not need to disappear. There is no need to make the mind empty. No need to push anything away. Thoughts may come. Thoughts may stay for a while. Thoughts may leave when they leave. Tonight does not need to become perfectly quiet, and you do not need to become perfectly peaceful. For so much of the day, there may have been something to reach, something to finish, something to understand, something to make right. Even rest can sometimes become another thing to achieve, another place to reach, another quiet expectation waiting in the dark. But sleep does not ask for an achievement. The night does not ask for an answer. It simply arrives, slowly, without needing permission. Outside, somewhere beyond this room, the sky continues to darken. A window reflects a little less light. A distant car passes. Then the sound is gone. Perhaps there is a fan turning nearby. Perhaps rain touches a roof or a window. Perhaps there is almost no sound at all. And beneath all of this, your body is already here, supported by the bed, your head resting against the pillow, the weight of the blanket touching your legs, the air meeting your skin, a breath arriving and leaving, another arriving and leaving, nothing remarkable, nothing that needs to mean anything, just this. For a little while, there is no need to search for a different moment. This one is already here. There is no need to search for the right feeling. Whatever is present can remain exactly as it is. If the mind is busy, it can be busy. If the body is tired, it can be tired. If something from today is still unfinished, it can remain unfinished. The night is wide enough for unfinished things. It does not ask the world to put itself in order before becoming dark. Trees do not need to finish growing. Clouds do not need to find their final shape. A river does not need to reach the sea before the moon appears above it. Everything can remain somewhere in the middle. And perhaps tonight can be like that too. Not a destination, not a solution, just a small space between one day and another. A place where nothing needs to be completed. You may notice another thought appearing. There is room for that. You may notice the sound of your own breathing. There is room for that too. And somewhere beneath the movement of the mind, the bed continues to hold the weight of your body, quietly, without asking anything from you. The pillow remains beneath your head. The blanket remains where it is. The room continues to surround you. Simple things, ordinary things, things that do not need to be searched for because they are already here. Perhaps peace does not need to be searched for either. Perhaps there is no need to decide. The question itself can rest. For now, there is only the darkness beyond your closed eyes, the faint sounds of the night, the warmth or coolness of the air, and the quiet weight of a body that has finally stopped moving through the day. The mind may still travel, but the body is here, already here. And as the night continues around you, perhaps that is enough for this moment. Not because anything has been solved. Not because every thought has become quiet. Not because you have arrived somewhere. only because beneath all the searching, all the remembering, all the small unfinished pieces of the day, your body has been here all along, resting against the bed, feeling the pillow beneath your head, feeling the quiet weight of the night. And perhaps without needing to go anywhere at all, attention can remain here for a little while longer. And perhaps without needing to go anywhere at all, attention can remain here for a little while longer, with the body already here. There is the weight of your head against the pillow, the quiet touch of fabric against your skin, the mattress beneath your back, the blanket resting across your legs, small points of contact, simple sensations. Nothing needs to be changed. The pillow does not need to feel perfect. The room does not need to be completely silent. Your breathing does not need to become slower. Even the body does not need to feel relaxed. It can simply be the body that arrived here tonight, the same body that moved through the day, that stood beneath morning light, that walked across floors, sat in chairs, opened doors, held a cup, touched a screen, carried small things from one place to another. Perhaps it moved quickly at times. Perhaps it waited. Perhaps it spent long hours beneath artificial light. Perhaps it felt sunlight for only a few minutes. And now, after all of those ordinary movements, it is no longer going anywhere. The feet are here, the legs are here, the hands have become still, the shoulders no longer need to carry a bag or reach toward another task. There may still be a little tension somewhere, around the eyes, along the jaw, across the shoulders, in the hands, or perhaps there is nothing particular to notice. Either way, nothing needs to happen. The body does not have to become different before the night can continue. It is already part of the night, warm beneath a blanket, cool where the air touches the face, heavy where it meets the bed, light where nothing touches it at all, and somewhere within this quiet arrangement, breathing continues. Air enters, air leaves, the chest moves a little, then settles. The abdomen rises, then falls. Perhaps the movement is easy to notice. Perhaps it is almost too small to feel. It does not matter. Breathing has been happening all day without needing much attention, through conversations, through traffic, through meals, through moments you remember, through moments already forgotten. Even while the mind was somewhere else, the body continued. One breath, then another, a heartbeat, then another. So many quiet movements taking place beneath everything that seemed more important. And here in the dark, they are still happening. There is something ordinary about this, so ordinary that it can easily go unnoticed. The bed beneath you, air around you, the small movement of breath, the warmth held beneath the blanket, nothing dramatic, nothing to understand. Just a body lying in a room at night. Outside, the world continues in its own way. Somewhere, a light is still on. Somewhere, a road is almost empty. A tree moves slightly in the night air. A window holds the reflection of a distant lamp. Perhaps a cloud passes slowly across the sky. None of these things are trying to arrive anywhere in this moment. They are simply where they are, and your body is where it is. Here, there may be something gentle in noticing how little the body asks from this moment. A place to lie down, a little air, the support beneath it, the next breath when it comes. No explanation, no conclusion, no need to know what tomorrow will bring. Tomorrow has not entered this room yet. There may be thoughts about it, plans, times, names, things waiting to be done. But those things are not happening here, not yet. Here there is only the contact between your body and the bed. Perhaps one heel feels slightly heavier than the other. Perhaps one hand is warmer. Perhaps the blanket rests differently across one side of the body. Perhaps the pillow has become warm beneath your cheek. Tiny details. They do not ask to be interpreted. They appear. They remain for a moment. And then attention may move somewhere else. To a sound, to a breath, to a thought. Then perhaps back to the weight of the body again. There is no correct place for attention to stay. It can wander. The body remains. A thought can carry the mind back into the afternoon. The body remains here. A memory can open for a few seconds. The body remains here. A question about tomorrow may appear. Still beneath it, the mattress is holding you. The blanket is still touching your legs. The air is still moving quietly in and out. The room has not gone anywhere. Sometimes the mind travels farther than the body ever could, back through years, into conversations that ended long ago, forward into mornings that have not happened, across imagined rooms, imagined words, imagined outcomes. And all the while, something much simpler remains beneath those journeys, the physical weight of this moment. The shape of the body beneath the blanket, the quiet darkness surrounding it, a breath that does not belong to yesterday, a heartbeat that does not belong to tomorrow, only this one, and then the next. Perhaps there is no need to call this peace. It does not need a name. Names can wait. For now, there is just the softness beneath your head, the surface beneath your back, the temperature of the air, the faint movement inside the chest, the small sounds that appear and disappear around you, and the body, still here. It has carried the day this far. Perhaps it does not need to carry the rest of the day any farther. The conversation that ended hours ago does not have to be held in the hands. Tomorrow's work does not need to rest on the shoulders. The unanswered message is not lying beneath the blanket. The unfinished task is not inside the pillow. They may still appear in thought. But here, physically, there is only this room, this bed, this body, this night. And perhaps that difference can remain without being explained. A thought is somewhere in the mind. The pillow is beneath your head. A memory may feel close. The blanket is still touching your skin. Tomorrow may seem near, but the night is here first, quietly, patiently, without asking what has been completed, without checking what was left undone. And as the body stays where it already is, some pieces of the day may still remain open. A sentence without an ending, a task without a check mark, a question without an answer. They can remain somewhere beyond the edge of this moment, not gone, not solved, simply unfinished, as so many things are when night arrives, as so many things are when night arrives, unfinished. A cup may still be sitting somewhere on a table. A book may remain open beside a chair. A message may still be waiting for an answer. There may be clothes folded only halfway. A light left on in another room. A small task that quietly moved from today into tomorrow. The day does not always end neatly. Sometimes it simply becomes dark. And perhaps there is something gentle in that. The sun does not wait for every conversation to reach its final sentence. Evening does not wait for every problem to find an answer. Night arrives while dishes are still in the sink, while emails remain unread, while questions remain open, while someone somewhere is still wondering what to do next. The sky darkens anyway, slowly, quietly, without asking whether everything is complete. And perhaps this day can remain a little unfinished too. There may have been something you meant to say, something you wanted to do differently, a moment that stayed with you longer than expected. Maybe someone spoke a few ordinary words, and somehow those words followed you into the evening. Maybe there was a silence where you expected an answer. Maybe a plan changed. Maybe nothing particularly important happened at all. And still, The mind may return to small pieces of the day, turning them over, looking at them again, as if another look might reveal something that was missed, as if one more thought might finally close what still feels open. But some things do not close before sleep. Some questions remain questions. Some conversations pause without knowing when they will continue. Some decisions belong to a morning that has not arrived yet. And here, in this room, they can remain exactly where they are, unfinished, not forgotten, not pushed away, simply unfinished. Like a sentence with no period yet, like a path disappearing into darkness beyond the reach of a lamp, like a letter resting on a desk before the final line has been written. There is no need to know how the sentence ends tonight. The path can continue beyond what can be seen. The letter can wait. Outside, the night is full of unfinished things, a flower that has not opened, a branch still growing, rain gathering somewhere beyond the horizon, a bird resting between two journeys, a moon moving through only one part of its cycle. Nothing seems troubled by being somewhere in the middle. The tree does not hurry toward morning. The moon does not try to become full before its time. The river does not pause at night to count how far it still has to travel. It continues. And sometimes, even that movement is almost impossible to hear. Perhaps there are parts of today that can be like that, still moving somewhere beyond attention, not requiring anything from this moment. A problem can remain a problem until morning. A decision can remain undecided. An unanswered message can remain unanswered. A conversation can stop in the middle. The night has room for all of it, and the body does not need to hold each unfinished thing as though it were an object. There is nothing to place beside the pillow, nothing to arrange beneath the blanket, nothing to balance on the chest. The bed holds only the body. The room holds only what is physically here: a wall, a ceiling, a window, perhaps a little light entering beneath a door, perhaps a soft sound somewhere beyond it. Everything else may appear as thought: a face, a place, a sentence, a memory, a possibility. They may feel close, but they are not asking the hands to carry them. The hands can remain where they are, open or closed, warm beneath the blanket, cool against the sheet, still. Perhaps one finger moves slightly, then becomes still again, such a small movement, and then nothing needs to follow it. There is no next task hidden inside that movement, no destination, no requirement. Just the hand resting where it happens to rest. The day may have asked those hands for many things: to type, to carry, to cook, to clean, to open, to close, to reach, to hold. Now there may be nothing within reach that needs to be taken, and nothing that needs to be put down. Only the quiet fact that the hands are no longer busy. The same may be true of the eyes. All day they moved from one thing to another. Faces, screens, roads, words, rooms, colors, movement. Now there may be only darkness behind the eyelids. No image needs to stay. No image needs to disappear. The darkness does not need to be perfectly dark. There may be shapes, faint colors, brief flashes of memory. They can pass through. The night remains. Perhaps somewhere nearby, a clock continues moving. 1 minute into another. It does not ask whether the previous minute was used well. It simply moves. A moment leaves. Another appears. Then that one leaves too. The day has been doing this from the beginning. Morning became afternoon. Afternoon became evening. And evening became this room, this bed, this quiet hour. So much has already passed without needing to be released deliberately. A sound appeared and disappeared. A door opened and closed. A cloud crossed the sky and was gone. A shadow moved across a wall. A breath came in. A breath went out. Perhaps the day itself knows how to leave without being told. Not all at once, not completely. A few pieces may linger. A few sounds may echo. A few thoughts may return. That is all right. They do not need to be removed. The mind can remember. The night can remain quiet around the remembering. Both can be here, a thought, and the pillow beneath your head, a memory, and the blanket against your skin, a question, and the faint sound of air moving through the room. Nothing has to defeat anything else. Nothing has to disappear for the night to continue. Perhaps this is simply what an unfinished day feels like when it is no longer being lived, only remembered in small pieces, a little here, a little there, and between those pieces, space, a breath, a distant sound, the weight of the bed, then perhaps another thought, and more space. There may be no clear moment when today finally leaves. Perhaps it fades the way daylight fades from a room, so gradually that no single moment can be called the end. A wall becomes dimmer, the window becomes darker, objects lose their edges, and eventually, without anyone deciding exactly when it happened, the room belongs to the night. The day can fade in the same way, not erased, not completed, simply becoming a little more distant. There will be another morning for whatever remains, another light, another room, another moment in which something may continue. But that morning is not here yet. Only this night is here, and this night does not need the day to be finished. It can hold the open questions, the incomplete conversations, the plans without endings, the small things left on tables, the words that were never said, without solving any of them, without carrying them anywhere. They can remain somewhere in the quiet distance. And if one of them returns, perhaps it can return. A thought may appear, stay for a moment, change shape, and move somewhere else. Another may follow, then another, like clouds crossing a dark sky. The sky does not need to stop them, and it does not need to follow them. It simply remains wide enough for their passing. It simply remains wide enough for their passing. A thought appears, then another. Perhaps the first one has already changed before it can be fully noticed. A face becomes a place. A place becomes a conversation. A conversation becomes something that happened years ago. And somehow, without any clear path between them, the mind moves again. This is what it sometimes does in the quiet. When the room becomes still, thoughts can seem louder. Not because there are necessarily more of them, only because there is less around them. During the day, a thought can disappear beneath footsteps, voices, traffic, music, a screen lighting up, a door opening, someone calling your name. But at night, there may be fewer places for a thought to hide. So it passes through the open space of the room, and for a moment, it may seem very close. Perhaps it says something about tomorrow. Perhaps it returns to yesterday. Perhaps it brings back a sentence spoken many years ago, or something so small that you do not know why it returned at all. The mind does not always explain where it is going. It moves. That may be enough to notice. A thought does not have to become a problem simply because it appeared. And it does not have to become important simply because it stayed for a while. It can be here, like a cloud above a dark field, there for a moment, changing at its edges, moving so slowly that it almost seems still. The sky does not ask where the cloud came from. It does not ask how long the cloud will stay. There is room for its shape. And when the shape changes, there is room for that too. Perhaps another thought is already here, something unfinished, something uncertain, a small worry, a plan, a memory, or just a few words repeating themselves without any particular reason. There is no need to follow them to the end, and no need to turn away. They may move in whatever way they move. While beneath them, the body remains on the bed. The pillow remains beneath your head. The blanket still has its quiet weight. The room is still around you. Nothing in the room has to change because a thought has appeared. A thought about tomorrow does not make tomorrow arrive. A memory does not make yesterday return. An imagined conversation does not place another person in the room. The thought can feel near. And still the room remains exactly where it is. Perhaps somewhere outside, a car moves along a distant road. Its light touches a wall for a moment, moves across the ceiling, then disappears. Nothing needs to chase the light. Nothing needs to hold it. It comes because the car is passing, and it leaves because the car continues on. Thoughts may be a little like that. Brief lights moving across the inner walls of the night. Some are bright, some are faint. Some pass so quickly they are hardly noticed. Others seem to linger, but even a lingering thought is not completely still. A memory changes each time another detail appears. A worry moves from one possibility to another. A plan rearranges itself. An image fades at the edges. Everything is moving, even when it seems to remain. And beneath that movement, another breath, perhaps shallow, perhaps deep, perhaps somewhere in between. No particular breath needs to be chosen. The next one arrives in its own way, then leaves. A thought may arrive with it. Another may leave before the breath is finished. There is no need to match them, no need to count them, no need to make the breathing responsible for quieting the mind. Breathing can simply be breathing. Thinking can simply be thinking. The night can contain both. There may even be moments when the mind becomes very quiet. A few seconds with almost nothing passing through. And then a thought appears again. That does not disturb anything. The quiet did not fail. It was never a test. The thought is simply another thing appearing in the night. Like the soft sound of a pipe in the wall, the movement of fabric, a branch touching a window, a distant engine, a floor settling somewhere in the house. A sound comes. For a moment it is here, then attention moves on. Perhaps the sound continues, perhaps it stops. There is no need to know. The mind can move in the same way. It may return to something from earlier today. Maybe a conversation, someone's expression, a word that felt different than expected. And for a moment, the mind may begin building around it. What they meant, what you could have said, what might happen next. One thought becoming another, then another. A small road appearing in the dark. There is nothing unusual about a road continuing. But there is also no need to know where every road leads tonight. Some roads can disappear beyond the trees. Some thoughts can continue beyond attention. They do not need an ending before the body can remain here. Perhaps the mind wanders far away for a while, so far that the room almost disappears. Then something small returns. The touch of the sheet against one foot, the sound of air, the warmth beneath the blanket, and the room is here again. It never left. Only attention traveled. The room waited without waiting. The bed continued holding the body. The night continued outside the window. There is something very simple about returning this way. Not returning because you were lost. Not returning because the thought was wrong. Only noticing what is here when attention happens to come back. And then perhaps it wanders again. That is all right. It can move. There is no fence around this moment. No boundary the mind has to stay inside. It may visit tomorrow. It may visit childhood. It may invent a place that has never existed. It may replay a voice. It may create a question. It may forget the question before finding an answer. And still, the body remains here. The night remains here. A little air moves through the room. A little warmth remains beneath the blanket. Perhaps the darkness behind the eyelids changes slightly. Perhaps it does not. Nothing needs to become completely still. A lake can hold small ripples and still reflect the moon. Grass can move beneath the wind without leaving the field. Leaves can tremble while the tree remains rooted in the earth. Movement does not always mean that something is wrong. Sometimes movement is simply movement, a thought moving, a breath moving, air moving through leaves outside, a cloud moving across the sky, the night itself moving slowly toward morning. No part of it needs to hurry, and no part of it needs to stop. Perhaps peace was never dependent on everything becoming motionless. Perhaps even that thought does not need to be kept. It can pass too. No conclusion is needed. No lesson has to remain. Only the quiet space in which all of these things appear. A sound, a breath, a memory, a thought, a little silence. Then another thought, all arriving, all changing. And somewhere beneath their movement there may still be the simple feeling of being here, not as an achievement, not as something that needs to be maintained, only as another ordinary fact of the night. You are here, the bed is here, the room is here, and thoughts can continue moving. Perhaps some will become quieter, perhaps others will not. Perhaps one will return several times. Nothing needs to be done with it tonight. It can cross the same sky again and again. The sky does not become smaller because a cloud returns. There is still space around it, above it, behind it. And eventually, perhaps without anyone noticing exactly when, its edges begin to change. Another shape appears, then another. The mind moves on. The night continues. And as thoughts pass through this quiet space, something else may become a little less necessary. The need to manage every thought, the need to answer every question, the need to become a certain kind of person before this day can finally rest. Because beneath all those thoughts about who you were today and who you may need to be tomorrow, there is still a body lying quietly in the dark. No title, no role, no explanation, just here. While the night asks nothing of it, while the night asks nothing of it, nothing to prove, nothing to explain, nothing to become. The room does not know what happened today. It does not know whether the day went as expected. It does not know what was finished or what was left behind. The walls do not know your name. The pillow does not know your work. The blanket does not know what anyone expects from you. The darkness does not know whether you said the right thing, whether you made the right choice, whether you were understood, whether you understood anyone else. It simply surrounds the room, quietly, without asking for a story. During the day, there are many names for a person, a name on a screen, a name on a door, a title beneath an email, a place at a table, a role inside a family, a voice someone expects to hear, a face someone recognizes, and each of these may carry its own small weight. Things to remember, things to answer, things to notice, things to take care of. Sometimes the day seems to be made almost entirely of these small movements between one role and another. Speaking here, listening there, waiting, responding, deciding, moving on. And perhaps those roles were useful. Perhaps some will be waiting again tomorrow. But here, beneath the quiet weight of the blanket, they do not need to be performed. The room is not waiting for a reply. The ceiling does not need an explanation. The night does not need you to be interesting, or useful, or certain. It does not ask you to improve this moment. It does not ask you to turn it into anything. The darkness can simply be dark. The bed can simply hold the body. Breathing can continue without becoming a practice, and you can simply be here. No particular version, no better version, no quieter version, just here. Perhaps there are still traces of the day in the body, a little heaviness around the eyes, a place in the shoulders that has not softened, a jaw that still remembers speaking, hands that spent the day touching, carrying, typing, opening, closing. Nothing needs to be corrected. These are simply traces, like warmth remaining in a cup after the tea is gone, like the faint smell of rain after the clouds have moved away, like light lingering at the edge of the sky after sunset. The day may leave slowly. The body may remember it for a while. There is no hurry. Outside, a tree does not become less of a tree when night comes. Its leaves are harder to see. Its branches disappear into shadow. The colors that were visible during the day become quiet. But nothing essential needs to be added. Nothing needs to be removed. The tree stands where it stands, perhaps moving slightly in the wind, perhaps completely still. It does not become something else for the darkness. The night simply meets it as it is, and perhaps this room can be like that. A place where nothing needs to be presented, nothing needs to be arranged for someone else's eyes. The face can rest without expression. The hands can rest without purpose. The voice can remain unused. Even the thoughts do not need to make sense. A thought may begin and disappear halfway through. Another may arrive without connection. A memory may appear without asking to be understood. There is no audience inside the night, no one waiting for a conclusion. Perhaps that is why darkness can sometimes feel so different from daylight. During the day, so much can be visible. What is being done, where someone is going, what they are wearing, what they are saying, what they have made, what they have not made. But darkness softens the edges. The chair becomes a shape. The window becomes a darker square. The objects on a table lose some of their detail. The room becomes simpler, not empty, just less defined. And perhaps a person can become a little less defined too, not erased, not forgotten, only no longer needing to hold every outline so clearly. The name can remain somewhere outside this moment. The work can remain somewhere outside this moment. The plans can remain somewhere outside this moment. The story of the day can become less detailed. Until perhaps there is simply a body beneath a blanket, warm in some places, cool in others, breathing, existing. Nothing more needs to be added. A breath arrives without checking who you are. It leaves without asking what you accomplished. Another arrives. The chest rises slightly, then settles. Such a small movement, and still it has nothing to prove. Perhaps somewhere beyond the window the moon is visible, or perhaps clouds cover it tonight. Either way, the sky remains. It does not become more complete when the moon can be seen. It does not become less complete when the moon disappears behind clouds. The sky does not seem concerned with how it appears. It simply holds what passes through. Clouds, darkness, light, rain, stars, empty space, and then more darkness. There may be something familiar in that, not something to understand, only something to notice for a moment. A thought appears. The room remains. A feeling appears. The bed remains. A memory appears. The night remains. And perhaps there is no need to decide what any of these things say about you. They can simply be what they are while they are here. Sometimes the mind may quietly return to the question of whether things are all right, whether tomorrow will be easier, whether something should have been different, whether there is something about yourself that still needs to change. These questions may come. They have room to come, but they do not require an answer from this bed. Not tonight. The darkness is not waiting for an improved version of you before it can deepen. Morning is not waiting for you to understand yourself before it can arrive. The earth continues turning without asking anyone to be ready. Somewhere, night is arriving. Somewhere else, dawn is beginning. Water moves along a shore. Wind passes through grass. A bird sleeps beneath a branch. So much continues without instruction, without explanation, without becoming anything other than what it is in this moment. And here the body continues too. A heartbeat beneath the chest, warmth beneath the blanket, the faint pressure of the pillow, perhaps the quiet touch of hair against the face, perhaps the sound of breathing, ordinary things, small things, things that existed before any question about who you should become. There is no need to turn them into symbols. The pillow can simply be a pillow. The breath can simply be a breath. The darkness can simply be darkness. And this moment does not need to become meaningful before it is allowed to pass. It can be ordinary, perhaps very ordinary. A quiet room, a tired body, a night moving slowly around both. Maybe peace, if that word appears at all, does not need to look different from this. Not a sudden silence, not a perfect feeling, not a place where every thought disappears. Perhaps it can remain unnamed, hidden among things so simple they are usually overlooked. The weight of a blanket, the cool edge of a pillow, a faint sound beyond the window, the small pause after an exhale, then another breath arriving on its own. Nothing spectacular, nothing to reach, nothing to become, only the ordinary night, continuing exactly as it is. And perhaps, somewhere among these small and almost unnoticed things, there is no need to decide whether peace has arrived. There is only the sound that is here, the darkness that is here, the breath that is here, the body that is here, and the quiet, ordinary space between them. The quiet, ordinary space between them. Perhaps nothing else needs to happen here. No sudden change. No moment when everything becomes clear. No feeling that needs to arrive before the night can continue. There is simply the room, and the body within it. Perhaps somewhere nearby, air moves softly through a vent. A fan turns. A curtain shifts almost too slightly to notice. From farther away, there may be the sound of a car passing, a door closing, water moving through a pipe, rain touching glass, or perhaps the night is nearly silent. Whatever is here can remain ordinary. There is no need for the room to become more peaceful than it already is. No need for the sounds to disappear. No need for the darkness to become deeper. The night does not seem to be trying to create a particular feeling. It simply continues. One moment, then another. Somewhere outside, leaves may be moving, not much, just enough for one leaf to touch another. A small sound, then stillness again. Perhaps the sound repeats, perhaps it does not. Nothing waits for it. Nothing is missing when it stops. Inside the room, there may be small sounds too. Fabric moving when the body shifts, the faint rhythm of breathing, a distant hum. The almost unnoticed sounds of a building resting through the night. These things may have been here many nights before. Perhaps they were too ordinary to notice. And perhaps tonight they can remain ordinary too. Nothing needs to be made special. A breath enters, a breath leaves. There may be a small pause. Then another breath. No message hidden inside it. No lesson, no promise. Only air moving through the body. The same simple movement that has continued since morning. And long before this particular day began. Perhaps the body shifts slightly. A shoulder settles differently against the mattress. One foot finds a cooler place beneath the blanket. The head becomes a little heavier against the pillow. Small adjustments, almost unnoticed. the body finding its own way through the night, not toward perfection, not toward a destination, only from one position to another, one breath to another, one moment to another. Perhaps this is why quiet can be difficult to recognize when it is already near. It may not announce itself. It may not feel like anything remarkable. It may simply be the absence of something demanding your attention for a few seconds, a moment when the phone does not light up, a moment when no one is speaking, a moment when nothing needs an answer. Then perhaps another sound comes, another thought, another memory, and the quiet seems to disappear, but perhaps it was never something that needed to remain unbroken. A small sound can exist inside a quiet room. A ripple can move across still water. Wind can pass through a field. A bird can call once in the darkness. And when the sound fades, there is no need to rebuild the silence. It is simply there again. Perhaps it was there around the sound as well, like the dark sky around a distant star, like the space around a branch moving in the wind, like the room around a single breath. There may be thoughts moving through this space too. Perhaps one is already here. Something about tomorrow, something from years ago, something with no clear meaning at all. It can remain for a moment. The room is still here around it. The bed is still beneath you. The night is still beyond the window. One thought does not fill the whole room. Even many thoughts do not fill the whole night. There is still the pillow, the sheet, the air, the faint temperature against the face, the weight of one hand resting somewhere, the small space between the fingers, so many ordinary things existing at the same time, none asking to become the center. Perhaps the mind has spent much of the day moving toward things that seemed important, a deadline, a message, a decision, a conversation, a place to reach, a thing to remember. Attention moved toward one thing and then another, again and again. But here importance becomes harder to measure. Is the sound of rain important? Is the weight of the blanket important? Is the small movement of the chest important? Perhaps the question itself is unnecessary. They are simply here. That may be enough. Outside, the ground is somewhere beneath the darkness, perhaps damp from rain, perhaps dry and cool. Grass may be holding tiny drops of water. A sidewalk may still carry the warmth of the day. A tree may stand beside an empty street. None of it needs to be seen. The night contains things that continue without being noticed. Roots beneath soil, water beneath stone, clouds beyond the roof, a small insect moving through grass, a leaf resting where it fell. The world does not stop when attention turns away. It continues quietly. Perhaps the same is true here. The body continues without needing to be watched. The heart continues. Breathing continues. Warmth moves through the skin. The weight of the body settles into the bed. So much happens without being managed, without being asked, without being named. And perhaps peace, if it is anywhere tonight, is not separate from these ordinary things, but there is no need to call them peaceful. The sound of the fan can simply be the sound of the fan. Rain can simply be rain. Breathing can simply be breathing. A tired body can simply be tired. Nothing needs another name. Perhaps there was once an idea that peace would feel different, like reaching a place where the mind never wandered, where nothing hurt, where nothing was uncertain, where every question became quiet. But that place does not need to be searched for tonight. There is only this place, a real room, a real body, a real night, perhaps a little discomfort, perhaps a thought that keeps returning, perhaps a sound you wish were quieter, perhaps a blanket that needs shifting. Nothing here has to resemble an image of perfect stillness. The night can remain imperfect. A dog may bark somewhere far away. A car may pass. A phone may vibrate in another room. Wind may move something outside. The body may turn. The mind may wake again for a moment, and then the night continues. It does not begin again each time something moves. It does not fail each time there is sound. It simply makes room for movement, for stillness, for sound, for silence, for thought, for the moments between thoughts. There may be something spacious in that. Though even spaciousness does not need to become another thing to find, it can remain unnoticed, like the space inside this room, always present around the objects, around the bed, around the body, around every sound. A room is not only the things inside it, there is also the space between them, between the bed and the wall, between the wall and the window, between one sound and another, between one breath and the next. Perhaps attention rests there for only a second, then moves. That is enough. Nothing needs to be held. The night does not hold one sound forever. The room does not hold one breath. The sky does not hold one cloud. The shore does not hold one wave. Things arrive. Touch something, change, and move on. The blanket may rise slightly with the body, then fall. Air enters, then leaves. A thought forms, then becomes something else. A sound reaches the room, then fades into distance. Everything seems to know this small movement, arriving, remaining for a little while, leaving, not because it has been pushed away, simply because movement continues. Perhaps even the quiet changes from moment to moment, sometimes filled with the hum of a room, sometimes with rain, sometimes with breath, sometimes with almost nothing at all. It does not need to stay the same to remain quiet, and you do not need to stay the same either. There is no position that must be held, no feeling that must be preserved, no calm that must be protected. If a thought comes, it comes. If the body shifts, it shifts. If a sound appears, it appears. The moment can change without anything being lost. Outside, perhaps a cloud has moved away from the moon, or perhaps another has moved in front of it. The light changes on the ground, then changes again. No one needs to arrange it. The night finds another shape, and another. Here, perhaps the room changes too. The eyes become more accustomed to darkness. The pillow grows warmer. The blanket settles differently. Breathing has its own small variations. Nothing remains exactly as it was a few minutes ago. And still, there is nowhere else this moment needs to go. Perhaps this is enough to stay with. Not peace as an idea, not peace as something to achieve. Only what is already touching the senses. The fabric beneath the hand, the temperature near the face, a sound appearing somewhere in the dark, the weight of the body, a breath, then a little space, another breath, another sound, another small change, ordinary, so ordinary that nothing about it needs to be remembered tomorrow. Perhaps sleep will come somewhere among these unnoticed things. Perhaps it will come later. There is no need to know. The night has time. And for now, everything can continue in its own quiet way. The room, the breath, the darkness, the sounds that arrive and leave. Nothing asking to be held, nothing asking to remain, nothing asking to remain. Perhaps that is enough for the night. Things come close, and then they move away. A sound reaches the room. For a moment it is clear, then it becomes quieter, then perhaps it is gone. A breath arrives, the body receives it, and without needing to keep any part of it, the breath leaves again. Another comes. Another goes. Nothing in this small movement needs to be held. Perhaps one hand is resting somewhere beneath the blanket. There may be a slight warmth in the palm. The fingers may be loosely curled or open. There is nothing they need to carry now. During the day, hands hold so many things: a cup, a phone, a pen, a steering wheel, a door, a bag, another hand. Sometimes they hold things for only a second, sometimes much longer, and then, without much thought, they open. The object is placed somewhere. The hand becomes empty again, not because emptiness was the goal, only because holding was no longer needed. Perhaps the mind does something similar. It holds a sentence, a face, a moment, a possibility, a small worry. It carries them from one hour into another, sometimes long after the moment itself has passed. A conversation ended hours ago, yet a few words may still be moving somewhere inside. A person may be far away, yet their face may appear clearly for a moment. Tomorrow has not arrived, yet the mind may already be standing somewhere inside it. There is nothing wrong with this. The mind remembers, the mind imagines, the mind returns. And sometimes it holds. Perhaps there is something from today that has been held a little longer than expected. No need to search for it. If something appears, it appears. Maybe it is very small, a look on someone's face, a message without an answer, a mistake that no one else may even remember. Something that should have been said, something that perhaps should not have been said, or maybe it is something pleasant, a moment you wish could have lasted longer, a voice, a place, a feeling. The mind can hold beautiful things too, sometimes because they were beautiful, sometimes because they are already gone. But tonight, nothing has to be pushed from the hands of the mind. Nothing needs to be dropped. Perhaps it is enough to notice that holding and keeping are not quite the same thing. A hand can touch water. Feel its coolness, notice its movement, and still the water passes between the fingers. The hand does not have to close around it. The water does not have to stay. For a moment there is contact, then movement, then space again. Perhaps thoughts can be somewhere near that. A memory touching the mind, a feeling passing through the body, a name appearing, a picture forming, here for a little while, then changing, maybe returning later, maybe not. There is no need to decide. Outside, leaves have been falling this way for longer than anyone can remember. A leaf remains on a branch through sun, through wind, through rain, until one day the connection becomes lighter. There may be no dramatic moment, no struggle. A little wind passes, the leaf moves, and then it is no longer on the branch. It falls through the air, perhaps turning once, then again, eventually resting somewhere on the ground. The tree does not reach after it. The branch remains open to the night, and the leaf has not disappeared. It has simply changed where it is. There may be something quiet in that, not a lesson, only a movement that happens everywhere: water leaving the shore, clouds leaving one part of the sky, light leaving a room at evening, warmth leaving a cup, a sound leaving the air, a breath leaving the body. So many things depart without being rejected. They simply continue. And perhaps what leaves does not always need to be called loss. Sometimes it is only movement, one form becoming another, one moment making room for the next. A wave reaches the shore. For a moment the water spreads across the sand, then it moves back. The shore does not close around it. Another wave comes, then another. Each one touches the same earth. Each one leaves. The shore remains. Perhaps tonight a thought can arrive like that. It may reach far into attention. It may carry emotion with it. It may feel important. For a moment, it may cover almost everything. And then perhaps something changes, not because it was forced to leave. Maybe another thought appears. Maybe a sound enters the room. Maybe the body shifts beneath the blanket. Maybe nothing noticeable happens at all, and still the thought is not exactly as it was. Its edges move, its intensity changes, its shape becomes different. Even the thoughts that return are never completely the same. They meet a different breath, a different moment, a slightly different body. The night has moved a little farther. Perhaps the clock has moved several minutes without being noticed. Perhaps the air has become cooler. Perhaps the pillow is warmer now. Everything is already changing. There may be nothing that needs to be added to that movement, nothing that needs to be made to leave. The body knows something about this without needing words. It does not keep the breath that enters, it receives, and releases, receives, and releases. If it tried to hold every breath, breathing could not continue. There is a quiet wisdom in something so ordinary, though it does not need to become a teaching. The body simply does what it does. Air enters, air leaves. The next breath has room because the previous one was not kept. Perhaps the same space exists between other things, between one sound and another, one thought and another, one day and another, even between one version of ourselves and the next. The person who woke this morning is already a little distant. That morning light is gone. Those exact sounds are gone. Some words have already been forgotten. Some moments will never return in precisely the same way. And yet nothing had to announce their departure. They passed quietly, as moments do. Perhaps tonight can pass this way too, without needing to preserve it, without needing to make it meaningful, without needing to remember every quiet second. This breath does not need to be saved. This moment does not need to be kept. The darkness does not need to remain exactly this dark. Everything is free to change. Perhaps a thought returns now, something familiar, something the mind has visited several times tonight. It may stay. There is room. It may leave. There is room for that too. Nothing needs to be hurried out of the mind. There is no door that must be opened, no hand that must force anything away. Sometimes holding becomes lighter simply because the hand no longer closes so tightly, not opening on command, not trying to release, just noticing that perhaps there was never a need to grip quite so hard. And if the grip remains, that can be here too. Even holding does not need to be fought. A clenched hand eventually changes, maybe slowly, maybe during sleep. Maybe tomorrow. There is no schedule. The night has no requirement for how much should be released before morning. It asks for nothing. Perhaps some things will still be here when the sun rises. A question, a sadness, a hope, a memory, a problem waiting for attention. They do not need to disappear tonight. The night is not a place where life must be emptied. It is simply part of life, a quieter part, a darker part, a place where some things become less visible for a while. A chair is still a chair in darkness. A photograph remains on the wall even when it cannot be seen. The world does not vanish because the room becomes dark. It simply rests outside attention. Perhaps some things in the mind can rest there too, not gone, not solved, not rejected. Just outside the small circle of attention for a moment, like an object at the far side of a dark room, still there, but no longer needing to be looked at. There is something gentle about not needing to look at everything at once. The mind has spent all day turning toward things, a screen, a voice, a task, a worry, a need. Now perhaps attention can become less busy, not focused, not unfocused, just less required. A sound may draw it, then a breath, then nothing in particular. The mind may drift, the body may grow heavier, or perhaps not. There is no measurement tonight, no progress to check, no sign that needs to prove anything is working. The night does not keep score. It does not count how many thoughts remain. It does not measure how calm the body has become. It does not ask whether anything has been released. The darkness simply continues, and within it, the hands can remain empty or not. The mind can remain quiet or not. Everything has room. Perhaps this is what makes the night feel wide, not because nothing is there, but because so many things can be there without needing to be held at the center. A thought can move toward the edge. A memory can become faint. A sound can disappear into distance, and space remains, quiet space, not created, not earned, not produced by getting rid of anything, simply noticed when something moves through it, like the sky behind a cloud, the water beneath a leaf, the silence around a distant sound. Perhaps that space has been here through every part of the night. Behind every thought, around every memory, between every breath, even while the mind was busy, even while something was being held, it did not disappear. Perhaps it was simply harder to notice. And now, as the night grows quieter, as one sound fades, as another breath leaves the body, there may be nothing to hold on to, not even this moment. It can pass. The next one can come. And perhaps beneath all this arriving and leaving, something quiet has been here without needing to arrive at all. Something that was present before the thought appeared, still present while the thought remained, and still here when the thought moved on, not asking to be named, not asking to be understood, only quietly here. Only quietly here. Maybe it has been here longer than we noticed, not waiting to be created, not waiting for the mind to become empty, not waiting for the day to finally make sense. Just here, beneath the sounds, around the thoughts, between one breath and the next, there may still be something moving through your mind, a few words, a face, a place you were earlier today, something waiting for tomorrow. It can be there. Nothing needs to move it away. And perhaps somewhere around that thought there is also a little space, not a special kind of space, not something you need to concentrate on, just the simple openness that has been here all along, like the room around the bed. You may not notice the room itself very often. You notice the window, the lamp, the chair, the blanket, the things inside it. But the room is also the space around those things, quietly holding all of them, without choosing one over another. Perhaps the mind is a little like that tonight. Thoughts are easy to notice. They have words, images, stories, questions. They move toward the center of attention, and for a moment they can seem to be everything. But there may also be something around them, something without a story, something that does not need to speak. A quiet that was never really absent. Perhaps it was there this morning, beneath the sound of running water, behind the first thoughts of the day. Perhaps it was there while you were getting ready, while a phone lit up, while a door closed behind you, while traffic moved, while people spoke, while the hours became busy. It may have been difficult to notice, but difficult to notice is not the same as gone. A quiet room does not lose its space when music begins to play. The space remains around the music. A sky does not disappear when clouds move across it. The clouds may cover everything you can see. Still, the sky is there. And when the clouds move on, nothing needs to rebuild it. It was never destroyed. Perhaps quiet is sometimes like that. Not something that arrives when all the noise is gone. Not something created by getting everything right. Maybe it is simply easier to notice when fewer things are asking for attention. Tonight, fewer things may be asking. The room is darker. The day has moved farther away. There may be less to look at, less to answer, less to carry with the hands, and perhaps this makes something very simple a little easier to feel. the bed beneath you, the air around you, the small rise and fall of breathing. The space behind closed eyes, nothing extraordinary, nothing that needs to become extraordinary. Maybe there is a sound somewhere outside, a car far down the street, a little wind, rain, the soft hum of something in the room. The sound appears, and there is quiet around it. The sound fades, and the quiet remains. Another sound may come. Still there is room. Perhaps a thought comes in the same way. It appears clearly. For a few seconds, attention goes with it. Then perhaps the thought becomes softer, or changes into another thought, or disappears without being noticed. And something remains, not an answer, not a conclusion, just the open space in which the thought was able to come and go. You do not need to hold that space either. There is no need to stay aware of it. There is no need to keep returning to it. If attention wanders, it wanders. If you forget these words, you forget them. If part of what is being said begins to fade before the sentence is finished, that is all right too. Nothing important will be missed. There is nowhere this is trying to take you. No final understanding waiting at the end. The night can continue even if you stop listening, perhaps especially then. The voice can become another sound in the room, words appearing, words passing, a little meaning, then less meaning, then perhaps only rhythm, like rain heard from another room, like wind moving through trees somewhere beyond the window. You do not need to follow every word. You do not need to remember where the sentence began. The night does not depend on your attention. It keeps moving whether you are listening or not. The earth turns quietly beneath the room. Clouds move somewhere beyond the roof. Water travels through dark places. Trees stand without needing to be seen. And your body continues in the same simple way, breathing, resting against the bed, perhaps shifting slightly, perhaps becoming heavier, perhaps feeling exactly as it did a few minutes ago. There is no right direction, no sign to look for, nothing needs to happen next. Maybe sleep feels close, maybe it does not. Both can belong here. There is no need to reach towards sleep. It has its own timing, just as night arrived without being pulled closer, just as darkness slowly filled the room without anyone asking it to. Some things come more easily when they are not being watched. A cloud crosses the moon. A wave reaches the shore. A leaf settles onto the ground. Sleep may come in its own quiet way too, or perhaps there will simply be more resting, more breathing, more thoughts passing through, more moments that do not need a name. That can be enough. Perhaps there was a time when peace seemed like somewhere else, a quiet place far from noise, a different life, a different mind, a different version of yourself. Maybe peace seemed like something waiting at the end of enough effort, after enough problems were solved, after enough things were understood, after the right change, the right answer, the right moment. But here, in this ordinary room, there is nothing at the end of a road. There is only what is already here, the pillow beneath your head, the weight of the blanket, the darkness, a breath, a little space, another breath. Perhaps this does not feel like peace. It does not have to. There is no need to call it anything. Names can make things seem farther away than they are. The moment we name something, the mind may begin looking for it, wondering whether this is it, whether there should be more, whether we are doing it right. So perhaps no name is needed, not peace, not stillness, not meditation, not even rest, just this. The room, the night, the body, the breath, and whatever is moving through the mind, all of it here together, nothing excluded, nothing needing to be different. There may be a strange simplicity in that. A thought can be here without becoming the whole night. A feeling can be here without needing to define the moment. Tiredness can be here, wakefulness can be here, restlessness can be here, quiet can be here too. They do not need to push one another away. The night is wide, wider than a single thought, wider than one feeling, wider than one difficult day. Outside, the sky holds whatever is passing through it. Clouds, moonlight, darkness, perhaps rain, perhaps nothing visible at all. The sky does not become the cloud. It does not become the rain. It does not become the darkness. It gives them room. And then they change. Maybe there is something in us that can remain just as open, not because we make it open, not because we practice being open, perhaps because it was never completely closed, even on difficult days, even in noisy rooms, even when the mind was full. There may have been tiny spaces, a pause before answering someone, a breath while waiting for a light to change, a moment looking through a window, a few seconds beneath warm water, the quiet after a door closed. Nothing important seemed to happen. And yet, for a moment, there was simply life without explanation. Perhaps those moments were easy to miss. That is all right. They did not need to be collected. Quiet does not need to be saved for later. This moment does not need to become a memory. It can simply pass. Another can take its place. Then another. The room may feel a little different now, or maybe not. Perhaps the sounds have changed. Perhaps the body has shifted. Perhaps the thoughts are less clear. Or perhaps they are still moving as they were before. Nothing needs to confirm that this night is going well. There is no score, no destination, no finish line. There is only this slow movement through darkness, and maybe beneath it, something that does not seem to be moving at all. The simple fact of being here. Before the next thought, during the next thought, after it. Here the breath comes, here the breath leaves, here a sound appears somewhere in the distance, then fades, and still. Here, perhaps that is why nothing needed to be found tonight. What could be found that was not already part of this moment? The search itself was here. The tiredness was here. The thoughts were here. The body was here. And somewhere around all of them, the quiet was here too, not perfect, not untouched, not separate from life. Just quiet enough to hold what came, quiet enough to let what left leave, quiet enough that nothing had to be forced. Perhaps there is no need to say more about it. The more something is explained, the more the mind may reach toward it. And there is nowhere to reach now. The pillow is here, the blanket is here, the night is here. You are here, maybe that is all. A few sounds, a little darkness, a body being held by the bed, a breath arriving without being called, a breath leaving without being kept, and the quiet that was already here, still here, without asking you to notice it, without asking you to understand it, without asking you to become peaceful. You can simply remain for another breath or another moment, or perhaps without counting at all. Nothing to find, nothing to prove, nothing to become. Only this quiet night, and somewhere within it, the simple feeling of being here. And if even that begins to fade, it can fade. The night will remain. The room will remain. The breath will continue in its own way. There is nothing you need to hold on to now. Not the words, not the thoughts, not even the quiet. You can simply be here for as long as you are here. You can simply be here for as long as you are here. There is nowhere else this moment needs to go, nothing else it needs to become. The room is still around you. The bed is still beneath you. The night is still moving quietly beyond the walls. Perhaps the sounds are softer now, or perhaps they are exactly the same. A distant car, the low hum of the room, wind somewhere outside, maybe rain, maybe only the small sounds that a house makes when everything has grown still. You do not need to listen closely. The sounds can come to you, and they can leave. The words can do the same. You do not need to follow every sentence anymore. If a word passes without being heard, let it pass. If a thought carries you somewhere else, it can. There is nothing here you need to remember, nothing you need to understand before sleep, nothing you need to take with you. You have carried enough through this day, not because the day was too much, not because anything went wrong, simply because a day contains many things: faces, voices, rooms, questions, small decisions, moments that disappeared almost as soon as they happened. Some stayed longer. Some may still be here. That is all right. The night has room for them, and it has room for you, just as you are. There is no need to become calmer, no need to become quieter, no need to become someone who knows how to let go. There is no test here, no measure of how well you are resting, no right way to reach the end of this night. You can simply stay, here with the weight of the blanket, with the pillow beneath your head, with the warmth that has gathered around the body, with whatever sounds happen to be near. Perhaps the breath is quieter now, perhaps not. It does not need to be. Breathing knows its own way. Air comes in, air goes out. The body receives what it needs, then makes room again, so quietly, so naturally. It has been doing this through every word, through every thought, through all the moments you noticed, and all the moments you did not. Nothing was required from you. The breath continued. The heart continued. The night continued. Perhaps there is comfort in not having to manage everything, or perhaps there is simply less to manage here. The room does not need anything from you. The darkness does not need anything. The pillow does not need anything. Even these words do not need anything. They can become softer now, less important, more distant. Perhaps only a sound beside the sound of the night. You can listen or not. You can follow or drift away. There is no need to stay with the voice. The voice can stay for a little while without asking you to stay with it, like a lamp left on in another room. You know it is there, but you do not have to look at it. The night is larger than these words, larger than this room, larger than the thoughts that passed through today. Outside, streets stretch quietly beneath the dark. Windows have gone dim. Trees stand beneath the sky. Somewhere, water is moving. Somewhere, a leaf turns gently in the wind. Somewhere, another person is lying beneath another roof, listening to another night. So many lives becoming quiet in their own way. No one doing it perfectly. No one needing to. The earth continues turning beneath all of them, slowly, without sound, carrying cities, forests, oceans, sleeping animals, empty roads, rooms with lights still on, rooms already dark. And this room too. There is nothing you need to do to be carried through the night. Morning will come when it comes. You do not need to reach it. The earth will bring it closer on its own. For now, there is only this side of the sky, dark, quiet, open. Perhaps a cloud moves where you cannot see it. Perhaps the moon is somewhere beyond the roof. Perhaps there are stars hidden behind city light. They do not need to be visible to be there. So much can exist without needing to be seen. Perhaps the same is true of quiet. You do not need to feel it clearly. You do not need to know whether it is here. You do not need to search inside yourself for some peaceful place. There is no need to search at all. Tonight, peace does not need to be found. That was never the work of this night. The night only arrived, and you arrived here with it. A body beneath a blanket. A head resting on a pillow. A mind still carrying a few pieces of the day, nothing unusual, nothing wrong, nothing that needs to be turned into something else. Maybe a thought is here now. Let it have its little moment. There is plenty of sky. Maybe another follows. There is room for that one too. They may drift close, then farther away. They may become strange in the way thoughts sometimes do when sleep is near. A familiar room may become another place. A memory may lose its edges. A sentence may begin and never finish. A face may appear and disappear. The mind may begin making its own quiet world. There is no need to follow it back. There is no need to stay awake for the ending. Some sentences can remain unfinished. Some thoughts can dissolve before they make sense. Some stories can continue without a listener. The night knows how to hold unfinished things. It has been holding them all along. The unanswered question, the conversation that stopped somewhere in the middle, the plan for tomorrow, the thing you almost remembered, the thing you almost forgot. They can all remain where they are. Morning does not need them yet, and this moment does not need them either. Perhaps the body feels a little heavier against the bed, or perhaps the bed simply feels more present beneath the body. There is no need to decide which. The distinction does not matter. The mattress is here, holding what it holds. The pillow is here, the blanket is here, and the breath continues. In, out, no need to count, no need to deepen it, no need to make it softer, just breathing. And somewhere between one breath and another, perhaps there is a pause so small it hardly seems to exist. Nothing needs to be placed inside that pause. It does not need to become meaningful. It can remain empty. Then another breath comes, and another. The body knows. The night knows. You do not need to know. Maybe this is where words can begin to do less. There has been enough explaining, enough naming, enough following one thought into another. Now the words can become simpler. The room is here. The bed is here. The breath is here. You are here. Nothing to find, nothing to finish, nothing to become, just here for this breath and this one, and perhaps the next. There may still be thoughts. They can come. There may still be sounds. They can come too. Nothing has to stop. Nothing has to become perfectly still. The night can be quiet without being silent. The mind can rest without becoming empty. The body can lie here without needing to feel completely relaxed. There is room for whatever remains. A little tension, a little wakefulness, a little sadness, a little uncertainty, a little warmth, a little nothing in particular. All of it can be here. There is no doorway you need to pass through, no final place you need to reach, no moment when someone will tell you that you have arrived. Perhaps arriving was never necessary. Perhaps you were already here, before the first word, before the first breath you noticed, before the room became this quiet. Here. And maybe that is why there is nothing more to search for tonight. Not because everything has been found, but because searching can rest too. For a little while, the questions can rest, the plans can rest, the names can rest, the story of who you were today can rest, and whatever tomorrow asks of you, tomorrow can ask tomorrow. It does not need an answer tonight. Tonight can remain simple: darkness, a bed, a breath, a quiet room. Nothing more. Perhaps the voice is farther away now. Perhaps the meaning of the words is becoming less important. That is okay. You can let them become only sounds, soft sounds, passing sounds, like rain somewhere beyond the window, like leaves moving in the dark, like water reaching a shore and moving away again. No need to hold the words. No need to hold the night. No need to hold this moment. It is already passing, quietly. Another moment is here, and then another. Nothing asks you to keep them. Nothing asks you to stay awake to witness them. The night can continue without you watching. The room can remain without your attention. Breathing can continue without being noticed. The body can grow heavier, or lighter, or simply remain as it is. There is nothing left to measure. nothing left to check. You can stay here, and if staying becomes sleeping, there is nothing you need to notice about that either. Sleep does not need an announcement. It does not need a final thought. It does not need these words to finish. Perhaps they can simply become fewer, softer, farther apart. The bed is here. The night is here. The breath is here. Nothing to find, nothing to become, nothing to finish tonight. The room is still here. Your breath is still here. And the night can continue, quietly, without needing anything from you. No answer, no effort, no destination, only this breath, this darkness, this quiet. And then, perhaps, even these words can go. The night will remain. You can stay here, as long as you stay. And when sleep comes, there is nothing more you need to do.